What is up, YouTube? What is going on? Let me see if I can find something else on. If I can find the remote. Has anybody even joined yet? I didn't even tell anybody I was going live on YouTube this evening, so I'll be surprised if anyone shows up. Yeah, I'll leave that on in the background for background noise. Justin, what's good, brother? How are you, man? What is happening? Dude, I just randomly got on YouTube, by the way. I'm so lost without my normal. I guess I should have gone live on my backup, but I've stepped away from the TikTok this week. I'm out of purgatory, at least until they put me there again at 9:05 tomorrow night. So, but that doesn't do any good before the game. It's been so ridiculous. It has thrown off my entire week, especially being off work this week. Unfortunately, I haven't gotten anything done that I wanted or needed to get done this week, but I still have one more week. I still have another week. So hopefully I don't get the boomerang effect from TikTok and they don't just slam me right back to where I was. Hopefully not. I'm just going to have to be more mindful of, I guess, making sure what's on behind me. That's the only thing I can guess that caused this. But absolutely, I am so amped for this game tomorrow. I really believe we've got a real good chance at winning this game. Gardner Minshew, I think if there's anybody that wants to win and perform well there tomorrow, it should be him, right? That's where he got his start. They rolled the dice with him. He started for the Jags for an entire season, and then was essentially replaced by the quarterback that they have now. So I think, he will say all the right things in front of the media. He'll say and do all the right things. But I truly believe, if behind closed doors, I believe that he's going to want to stick it to Jacksonville tomorrow. And not only that, this was something that when I say he who shall not be named, when I'm talking about Carson Wentz, you bring up the fact that the Colts haven't won in Jacksonville since 2015. So, I've heard some people say, yeah, but how many people were on that roster when the Colts, won there last time? And we'll be lucky if any, right? But that being said, you still should care for your franchise, especially if you're someone that's getting, that's on that team, that if you're a starter, you should want to win for that franchise. Whether you were there or not, you still should want your franchise to break a streak that's a losing streak. Just like all of the different things we had going into last week's game, a 5-game losing streak against the Titans, 8-game losing streak at home. Like those are monkeys that this franchise needed off their back. Not only that, but the GM Chris Ballard needs off his back as well. Like that is something that I think, as much as the media puts into it and they, build this up and try to make it into a story, it's absolutely something that should be talked about. There are a lot of people I talked to, some coaches last night, they're like, no, that's no big deal. That shouldn't be even talked about. I'm like, I completely disagree. And I think you'd be remiss if you didn't bring it up or you didn't talk about it, because it is something. It is a talking point without a doubt. Like, what is it? Like when you continue to lose, regardless of the players or the pieces of that puzzle in a certain place, like the Colts have in Duval for the past, 8 years or 8 seasons, whatever it's been. It's a talking point. Like, think about it. The last time the Colts won in Jacksonville, Andrew Luck threw 4 touchdown passes. That was a long damn time ago. That's been a hot minute. So you've got that's looming and hanging over our head. And if the Colts go down there and get that done, I think that is absolutely a feather in the cap for general manager Chris Ballard. I absolutely think that's something that the GM wants to break as well. So we will see. I think they can absolutely go down there and win this game on the heels of a big win. Are they going to be more rested? Or are they going to be more tired? Does playing overseas for 2 weeks come? I think it does come into the equation. I just don't know how, right? Will it benefit Jacksonville? Will it not benefit Jacksonville? They played well while they were over there. So is there a benefit to that in some way, shape, or form? And that's where we're at in the National Football League with teams playing over there. This is still in an experimental phase. Like, they're finding out what's the upside, what's the downside, what do teams, all of this. But anyway, coming back from a long trip, basically a 2-week, I won't say vacation because it was still a business trip for them, but they're back home, right? They're back home. Colts going down in enemy territory with Gardner Minshew as the starter. And as I said, Gardner Minshew, 9-16 as a starter in his career. Dude, those overseas games, I don't like them at all. And, I know what the National Football League is doing. I got to watch what I say about the NFL because they are why I'm in TikTok purgatory. I know what they're doing. It's money. It's all money related, right? Obviously, it's money related. They want to expand. They want to make more money. Same reason that Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce are a thing. I don't, people want to argue that point with me. I'm like, this isn't accidental. This isn't coincidental. This wasn't just, two people randomly bumping into each other in the universe. I don't buy that for a second. You've got, two of the largest, and I talked about this last time we were live, two of the largest names in their profession or in their fields are together. There's definitely money to be made off of that. And don't think when people are sitting in an office, because it definitely benefits the National Football League. Like, Taylor Swift's benefit from this, she's getting some exposure, but she doesn't need it. She doesn't need any of that. The National Football League's benefit from this is they're able to tap into a market that they've never been able to tap into, and that's teenage girls and wives of, young wives of their fans and daughters of their fans. So that's really a genre that they've never been able to tap into. They have tapped into that tank of resources and that tank of funds here in a big way the past couple of weeks. And you see it. You absolutely see it. If you watch the Chiefs game this week, Al Michaels, we're not gonna talk about Taylor Swift as much as we did last time. And what'd they do? They dialed it back, but them dialing it back was still, and there's Taylor Swift. And did we mention Taylor Swift's here? And referencing her songs and all of this thing. It's wild, man. It's absolutely wild. But going back to the Colts game and the Jags, absolutely looking forward to this game tomorrow. 1:00 start. I go back. I got into it. I won't say I got into it, but I had some of Colts faithful come after me this week, as they do. And it's every season. Because I tell you what, Colts fans are different. Especially younger Colts fans. And what I mean by that, and I no offense to anyone that's out there, but there are fans that are out there that have only known this team to be good. They've never known this team to be anything else. They were born, Peyton Manning was the quarterback when they were born. They came up at the end of his, they remember watching him as a kid, and then we had Andrew Luck or whatnot, and now we're here where we are. They just think that everything is, happy-go-lucky and just take it, everything that you're given, take it for face value. At first, I had so many that were anti-AR, right? So many were anti-AR. Like, I spent who knows how long, and Justin, you'll know, for if you followed me for any amount of time, especially back during the draft, I had so many Colts fans that were coming to me, why are we getting this guy? We should have gone this way. We should have got Levis. We should have that. Coulda, shoulda, woulda, right? And I had to constantly defend the play of Anthony Richardson, how he was in college, how he will be, how he is as a person, what his character's like, how he is as an athlete, all of these things. So until, we're 5 weeks into the season, the kid's played 4 games and has been hurt in every single one of them. I can't, I can't just sit back and ignore the fact, okay? And I think any Colts fan would be, I think it's just silly at this point to, you have to acknowledge that the kid has been hurt each and every time he gets on the field at some capacity. We're 5 weeks in, and he's missed a game and a half, actually a game and 2 halves, and then a couple of other injuries spread throughout there. You can't ignore that. Like, you can't ignore that. And what I'd put out there to Colts Nation, I'm like, look, I am the number one AR fan. I'm a Florida fan. I wanted AR from jump. But I really tried to bite my tongue because I thought I was, I didn't think there was a snowball's chance and where that the Colts would pick him up. 2, I thought maybe it was just my, a fanboy side of wanting him to come to the Colts. So I start to say these things. I'm like, look, you can't ignore the fact that he's been hurt. Like, you have to acknowledge the question that the anti-AR fans or the Gator haters or whomever, the things that they've said and the things that they've brought up until this point, that he is XYZ, that he is, RG3 2.0, that he is all of these things. Okay. Like, I can't just completely be a naysayer to all of that anymore. Like, you have to say, okay, do these comments have any teeth to them? Right? I'm not ready to sound the alarms. I'm not saying the sky has fallen yet, but I'm also not blindly just, throwing my support like I had been, right? I'm at least scratching my head a little bit more now. And I am still 110% behind AR. He's the guy. But my question is, at what point is the threshold that Colts fans say, okay, I go from just blindly getting behind this person to, because here was the question, and this is why I had so many people come at me. I put the question out, and I'm just asking a question. It wasn't how I felt. It wasn't anything else. I'd been asked this multitude of times, and if you guys follow me or watch me at all, you know that you've heard this question. If the Colts find themselves with a top 10 pick, or even a top 5 pick, which I don't anticipate that they do, if they find themselves with that, high-level draft pick coming into the 24 draft, do the Colts draft a quarterback? And oh my Lord, like I had one kid, I'm calling him a kid because he's probably 22 years old, I think, or roundabout, that called me names. Like, you're an idiot. I'm like, son, first off, hit reset, hit pause, and then hit reset before you respond to me, because I'm not the guy, man. 2, I've got underwear older than you. 3, this is a question. And if you can't, if your fandom is just so, anybody with a lick of sense should at least be asking, considering that at this point. right? And I'm just saying, the what if? What if? And that was my question. If the Colts find themselves with a top 10 pick, do they draft a quarterback? Is he him? Because that is something that they legitimately have to look at. Okay, let's say he's out 8 weeks, comes back, you bring AR back in December. And here, going back, and I have talked on this point since the day it happened. I bit my tongue a lot on it up until AR went down with the shoulder. I was fine until he took himself out of the game. When he took himself out of the game, it really changed my thought process a little bit. Call me what you want, say whatever you want about me. I support 5. I'm a ride or die, but I've never seen a starting quarterback take himself out of the game, especially a rookie. And people, the fact that nobody had talked about this, either good or bad, and that they still aren't, tells me that people are afraid to bring it up. People are afraid to talk about it. One, because how the NFL is with CTE and all of that. And they don't want to naysay somebody for saying they feel off. But as I've said multiple times, football is a violent sport. Football is a very violent sport. And you're going to have injuries. You're going to have these things. And football is not new. We didn't just get to this point in 2023 in football. Like we've watched football. I've watched it my entire life, as have you, whatnot. But I've never seen a guy that's, fighting for a job or for his franchise take himself out of the game. And that's what I looked at. You go back at former Colts starting quarterbacks, and you'd have to drag them off the field if they were injured. You glad JT and the Colts got a deal done, plus AR needs to start protecting himself a lot better? Well, without a doubt, man. Again, I think that will come. He is still, I think his football IQ is off the charts. I still believe that. I think he will start protecting himself better. Like when he got hurt with the shoulder, there wasn't a lot that he could have done different. And from my perspective, my point of view, there wasn't a lot that, how he was tackled, how he went down. It was a hard hit, man. The thing that I didn't like is it was a called run play. Like we're spending $42 million on a tailback. We've got Zach Moss that's running, like he's got a brand new set of legs. Why are we running calls on quarterback keepers for our rookie quarterback that has, and I'm going to say it, that has been made of glass to this point? And he has been. He's not. He's 6'4", 244 or whatever it is. 6'4", 250. He's a big dude. And he's going to be able to run over people. But he's also still, he doesn't have his sea legs underneath him yet. Like he's still getting accustomed to the National Football League. They hit a lot different here than they do in the SEC. That's just how it is. And you can see the difference between him now and him a year ago. And he's going to continue getting better. That part he's going to develop. I guarantee it. Luck has played a little part in this, I think. Bad luck, for that matter. But, the fact that JT's back. And JT, I anticipate seeing him play at a much higher level tomorrow. I really do. I think JT will get at least double the touches what he got last weekend. You're going to see him increase each and every week. Here's the thing. We have double tomorrow what we didn't have week 1 against Jacksonville. And I said this then. I said this week 1. I definitely said it week 2 when Zach Moss came out and went off. If we would have had Zach Moss week 1 in Jacksonville, I think that's the Colts game. I think that's a Colts win, without a doubt. Like there is no, like we had zero Zero run game in that game against Jacksonville and that loss against Jacksonville week 1 at home. There was no run game. The Colts could get nothing going on in the ground game. So the fact that we have both of these racehorses in the backfield right now behind a Gardner Minshew who, for those of you that play fantasy, who I'm starting tomorrow. I'm starting Gardner Minshew tomorrow. I picked him up off waivers, and I'm starting him just for this game. I picked him up just for this game. Because if there's a good game that he's going to have, I think it'll be this one. And that's it. I really believe that. But you have those two, you've got those two running backs who, even if they split time, like they are going to be the fly in the ointment, I believe, to this Jacksonville defense tomorrow. And I'm very much looking forward to it. Look at the Arizona Cardinals. They may do it this year. They've done it a few years ago. Justin, absolutely right when you're talking about the whole quarterback scenario and situation. Like, and I told you this when they re-signed Kyler Murray. I'm like, his time there is limited. Like, I'm honestly surprised that he hasn't been dealt yet. I cannot believe he's still there. When they ended up extend his contract or whatever went last year, I thought it was going to be a sign and trade type of deal. As I still believe we do with Jonathan Taylor. I think I think we don't trade JT this season, but I'll be surprised if JT's a Colt next year. I still believe that. I think this was going to be a sign and trade type of situation. It firms that up a little bit. The fact that it's twofold. One, you're setting the tone for running backs across the league. All right? So the Colts look, favorable as far as that goes. It doesn't make Jim Irsay and the Colts look like they're afraid to pay anybody, right? So they get that deal done. They bring him back now because we weren't getting the offers for him that we deserved or that he deserved for him, right? We weren't getting those offers. And the reason for that, those trade offers, and the reason for that was, one, he'd been injured. We hadn't seen him walk across the street with a football, let alone run in a game, right? We hadn't seen since surgery. So one, we hadn't seen him play since his surgery. Number two, whoever traded for him was still going to have to negotiate a big fat contract for the extension. No team wants to do that, especially to a guy that is foreign to your franchise, foreign to your roster, and you don't know what his health is. With his health being a question mark, no, there was no team that was going to give up one of their blue chip players or someone similar to the Colts to pick up JT. The fact that the Colts sign him, they do the contract deal, they've made good, I guess, in the eyes of players across the league, other running backs across the league, and two, whatever team that they trade to, they know what they're getting. It's not a question mark now. They know what this contract deal is going to be. And they, for the 4 years, what is it, $26.5 million guaranteed. That's on the higher end, but it's also, I think, fair. It's not out of this world. It's not crazy. It's not stupid. It's fair. So if the Colts decide that they want to keep a Zach Moss or that they want to go with youth and go with a 4th-round pick or a 5th-round pick, some kid that's playing college ball right now, they decide they want to do that, you deal Jonathan Taylor for, 1st-round pick. 1, 2, or 2, 3, 4, or whatever. Look at what Christian McCaffrey got. And this is what I'm saying. This is why I think the Colts did this. This is why I think they signed JT. This is why I think JT isn't a Colt this time a year from now. Racket, remember I said this, JT is not a Colt this time October 2024. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't believe so. I think, look at everything. Now, that Carolina got for Christian McCaffrey. They got like 2, 3, 4, 5, like within a bunch of different, like they got a lot of draft picks. Say the Colts even get half that, which I think it'll be real close. I think it will be close in comparison to it, if not a high-end blue chip wide receiver in that mix somewhere. That's going to be a win for the Colts. That's going to be a win for the Colts if they end up doing that. And that's what I think that they do. The Colts have never. The fact that this is the first time in this franchise's history that they've given an extension to a running back, not Edgerrin James, not Marshall Faulk, not Eric Dickerson. JT's not just hands down better in all three of those. They didn't want to sign a contract with him. They didn't want to give him an extension. And this was all the way up until week 4. They said that week 4, right before the Rams game, that the Colts reached out to JT's camp and said, and started trying to mend fences. And by that next weekend, we had a deal done. I think like the Colts still keep this leverage. The Colts still have that leverage. That is what I think. Just remember, I'm saying this, but I think that would be a huge deal that will benefit the Colts. Like, look what Zach Moss has done thus far for the Colts. Right? Like he's been a big time football player. He's made big time football plays. And he's not costing $42 million a year. Not right now. So I think that the Colts are going to continue looking for a suitor for Jonathan Taylor. I don't think that all is forgiven. All of this just still feels weird. It still feels off. I don't anticipate it'll happen now before the trade deadline, but it still feels off. This whole thing felt weird, and it still feels weird. So that's just where I'm at. But that being said, why he's here, I hope he can get to a point where he plays at a high level and the Colts just go out and do things. Cody, thank you for bringing that up. That was my next talking point. Jerry Jeudy. Man, oh man. Former, what was he? What pick was he? Was he first round pick? By the Broncos. Just seems to be an absolute head case at the moment. I don't know what all, like, I have not, up until recently, studied him a lot because he hasn't been, he's underperformed, right? Like, he was supposed to be something when he was drafted. He hasn't lived up to that. But the Colts have been rumored. And again, like I always say in the National Football League, if there's smoke, there's fire at some level. He has been rumored, or the Colts have been rumored to have interest in him. Why now? Why him? I have no idea. I think that's and I'm thinking out loud here because initially I'm like, no, not no, but hell no. That's what I said initially. Hell no. We don't want that. Why? We don't want that anywhere near West 56th Street. We don't want that anywhere near that Colts locker room. However, depending on what it would take, that's not somebody I'd want here long term. But even if it's him, I think the Colts are in such desperate need for a top-tier wide receiver. Anyone that can compete with Michael Pittman Jr. And that's one thing that the Colts have not had. That's one thing that Michael Pittman Jr. has not had. That will make MPJ 10 times better. It really will. I truly believe that. That will get that man to a point and a level that he didn't know he could get to. And that's what the Colts have. That's where I have, criticized this Colts team for doing wrong because I don't think that they have pushed Michael Pittman Jr. enough because he didn't have any competition in practice. The closest thing that he has to competition is Downs, the rookie kid. And do you think for a second that Michael Pittman Jr. is concerned with Josh Downs taking his spot as the number one wide receiver? No, not even close. Michael Pittman Jr. has never once, since he's been drafted to the Indianapolis Colts, he has never once had to worry about his position on this team because of someone else taking it from him. He's never had to worry about that because the Colts have never had any other talent at wideout that can even compete with MPJ. Not even close. It's not even in the same zip code. So, with that being said, that's the only caveat to this that I think, okay, maybe Jerry Jeudy might not be a bad idea. That's it. Like, that is it. I don't think Jerry Jeudy's the answer to anything else from this team. I think the baggage that he brings and how and where he is. But I also don't know him. I haven't heard enough about him on close, like, sidebar conversations or stories. I've seen what's been in the media or some what's on social media, but who knows? Is that a bad rap? Like, I don't believe everything that I read. So I think that would be, I think Jerry Jeudy would absolutely be that to Michael Pittman Jr. I think Jerry Jeudy would absolutely be that fire under MPJ. And don't think that some random guy from the street or from some other team coming to the Colts wouldn't want to be the number one guy because it's wide open. It is wide open. Michael Pittman Jr. would ball out. That would be a game changer. So, as I talk about this, it makes me more excited to think about it. But when I think about or talk about the downside and the baggage that he possibly could bring with him and the drama, that doesn't excite me. We've got enough of that, right? Like, I'm done with the drama and the players and, what we just went through with JT for, 8 weeks, 10 weeks, whatever it was. What about T. Higgins? Look, so many people have just given up on T. Higgins. I love T. Higgins. I'm a T. Higgins fan. I would take T. Higgins in a heartbeat, man. And he's another one I think that would absolutely come in and want to compete for that number one spot. And that's what we need. That's absolutely what we need. We need somebody that's been around a hot minute that's very comparable. And this is what I've always said. And the Colts answer to that was Isaiah McKenzie, you have to stack his entire career together. You have to add all his statistics up to even get to one season worth of what Michael Pittman Jr. has. And I'm like, that's not it. No, this isn't what we're talking about here. And Josh Downs, he may be developing, but hell, he's nowhere close to what Michael Pittman Jr. can do. People have said, well, what's wrong with MPJ this season? Nothing's wrong with Michael Pittman Jr. He hasn't been targeted. Like, that is the biggest part of what has happened here. We've got to... Now, tomorrow, I think MPJ has a big day. MPJ and Gardner Minshew seem to have a much better relationship, or Gardner Minshew being the more veteran quarterback, the guy that's been around a minute, tends to look for Michael Pittman Jr., and they tend to have a better playing relationship. I think that ends up, developing and panning out into big plays tomorrow. I really do. Only have two receivers that can catch the ball, Pittman and Downs. That's it. Justin, you are it. That is it, man. I am at the point. I don't want to give up on Alec Pierce. I don't. I was so excited about Alec Pierce. I was so excited about Alec Pierce. Like watching, like I watched so much film of him from Cincinnati. I was, and then getting AR, I'm like, oh, these two, look out. Like, look out. These two are going to be off the hook. And we haven't seen it. Not only have we not seen it, Alec Pierce can't catch a cold this season, man. He couldn't last year either. And people, give him time, give him time. Time is now. Time is now. You're a year and a half into the league. You're the excuses or the passes that you get for being new or young or underdeveloped, that ship has sailed, bub. You've got to start catching the ball. And, I don't want to hear, well, the ball was here or there. That's the thing with being a receiver in the National Football League. The ball is not going to be right in the numbers or right in the hands each and every time. If you're a big, lanky guy, you're going to have to jump up and go for that football. And that's what he is. But even that being said, he has dropped a ton of them that have hit him right square in the hands. Boom. Boom. I'm like, what are we doing? What are we doing? So I would love nothing more than maybe tomorrow see Alec Pierce go down to Jacksonville and have a big game. The only thing I would love more than that is if AR was at the helm. And guys, here's something else. Going back to Anthony Richardson, this is something else that I don't feel enough people we haven't talked about. Like, the Colts have done Colts things with this injury of their new rookie quarterback. And what I mean by Colts things is they're not super transparent when it comes to injuries. And there's a reason for that. Like, you don't show your hand to your enemies. Like, you don't, if you're playing cards, you don't show anybody else your hand. You don't let everybody know what's going on or how serious. You want to keep them guessing. I get that. The strategery of it, from a strategic standpoint, I get it. I understand it. I appreciate it. However, the Colts have been notorious, especially back during the Luck injuries and years on end. He's good. He's not good. He can throw. He can't throw. He'll be back next week. He'll be back next year. Just all over the board. That got old. That got really old. The AR thing, man, if he's going to have surgery, we don't know for certain. Heck, he could have already had surgery, and we won't know. I don't believe that we will find out. They will let us know. But he's got a big injury to his throwing shoulder. And one of the biggest attributes and, upsides of Anthony Richardson is his strength. Is his arm. Like, he doesn't, he has a cannon. He has an absolute cannon for an arm. And I don't know, how much is that going to affect it? Right? Like, how much is this injury going to affect his throwing ability? Not only his accuracy, but his strength. That's what I'm concerned about most with this. So, we come back to the question, and this is the $1 million question here in Indy. I still say, as they are saying, this is Anthony Richardson's team. It has to be. I've said all along, this season wasn't about wins and losses. But the whole thing of that was, as long as Anthony Richardson's in the game. We are doing nothing right now with our future and developing our rookie quarterback because he's not playing. And that has been my biggest issue with him thus far this season. He's hurt. And it doesn't help when he's taking himself out of the game, saying, "Oh, I'm hurt." Like, those are, it's hard. It's absolutely hard. But the question is, if Gardner Minshew comes in, say AR's out the next 8 weeks, we've got to buy somewhere in there. So let's say next 7 games. let's say Gardner Minshew wins 4 out of 7 of those games or 5 out of 7 of those games. Because tomorrow's game, if I said last week was a must win for a lot of reasons. People are like, no, it's not a must win. I'm like, yeah, it really is. If you want anything for moving forward with this team, if you're some of the coaches, if you're some of the players, if you're just, it's a must win. This game going into Jacksonville tomorrow, I think is the biggest must win that we've had yet. And it will be. And I'm calling it an absolute must win. You've got a team that hasn't won in Jacksonville since 2015. 2015. Like I said, the last time we won in Jacksonville, Andrew Luck threw 4 touchdown passes. It's been a long damn time ago. Number 2, the winner of tomorrow does what? Takes first place. And that's the tiebreaker. So if we can go down tomorrow in Jacksonville, there's a tremendous upside, like games and weeks down the road, for the Colts to win this game. There's a huge upside if the Colts win this game. And that's exactly what we need to do. That's why I'm calling it a must win. Like, if you're looking down the road, it's a must win. Are you streaming? No, Doug, I don't stream Colts games, man. Like, I'll go live during games, but I've never just streamed the game. But yeah, it's tomorrow. It is definitely a must win. Now I'll probably go live during the game and see, as long as I can still have it on and all of that. I was supposed to broadcast I was supposed to go live on TikTok tomorrow from a restaurant downtown here in Indianapolis, but with the TikTok faux pas that happened, that I'm not doing that. Maybe I'm hoping to go to the Browns game. We'll see, because I've got a former student that plays for the Browns, and that is that's the next home game. (27-24) Matt game winner, my prediction. I like that. And 27-24, that's a high, that's a good, that's a shootout, right? 27-24, that'll be a good AFC South divisional shootout. And I think you may be real close to on the money there. I want it to be. I hope the Colts defense played okay week 1. And I'm hoping, I think everyone, I haven't looked, let's look at the injury report, shall we? That is one thing I did not pull up before I went live. Week 6. Okay, so, oh, good Lord. Come on now. This is according to Colts Wire. We've got Mo Alley Cox, did not practice. Oh, come on. For the love of Christ. I swear. Oh, the Bears and the Vikings, man. That's out of those two, I am taking the Bears in that game. I think the Bears have why these damn pop-ups seriously agitate me. All right, so Moelle Cox is questionable. Braden Smith is out. Shaquille Leonard, go figure. Shaquille Leonard with a growing injury. He was full practice Wednesday, full practice Thursday, full practice Friday. Kwity Paye was in concussion protocol. He was full practice, full participant in practice. Bernard Ryman, concussion protocol. He was full participant in practice all week. Big Grover Stewart, who we need, who I'm a big fan of. He's out with a foot injury. He did not participate in practice Friday at all. So they have no status on him yet. DeForest Buckner, another one. Back injury. Did not participate in Friday practice. And Ryan Kelly. So that is not great news. Like you've got when both those guys up front in your line, with Grover Stewart and DeForest Buckner, both of your that's your defensive line. Like that, those are the heavy anchors of your line when they're both injured and neither one of them's practicing. And that has been my look. If you know me or follow me at all, you know that I have always been, I was never a fan of giving up a 13th overall pick for DeForest Buckner because I've never seen him since he's been here in Indy play at that level. Just haven't up until this season. This season, D-Buck, I think, has played like he wants to be here. He's played like he did in San Francisco. But in my opinion, I don't think, and I've heard some other people that actually agree with this, that I don't think he's played anywhere. He has not been the player here in Indy that he was in San Francisco for whatever reason. I just haven't seen it. People are like, because he always gets double teamed or this. I'm like, okay, that happens. You still have to find a way to perform. Not saying it's easy, but the fact you've got both those guys dealing with injuries, it is concerning. Here we go. Jacksonville's, what is the issue here? Jacksonville's injury report. Zay Jones is out, which I love. I'm a Zay Jones fan. Not that he is the powerhouse there. You've got Christian Kirk. You've got Calvin Ridley. Those are the two big threats anyways, as well as ETN. Like that is their offense is just fun to watch when they're firing on all cylinders. That's why it's going to be important for, Shaquille Leonard, Zaire Franklin, D-Buck, Big Grove, all of those guys to perform and play. The fact that they don't have DeForest Buckner or Grover Stewart listed with anything, like they don't have them listed as questionable. They're not listed as out. They're just basically a question mark. And neither one of them participated in practice all week. That is very concerning. And the reason that they're not listing anything for their status is it's a strategic move. It's to keep the Jags guessing. But also on the Jags injury report, offensive lineman Walker Little out with a knee injury. Cornerback Christian Braswell, hamstring. Linebacker Devin Lloyd is questionable. Tackle Cam Robinson, elbow, full participant practice all week. DeJuan Smoot, an Achilles injury. He was a full participant practice all week. And defensive tackle Devon Hamilton is out. So that's a big one for the Jags. That's a big one for the Jags, so hopefully that will JT or Zach Moss will be able to capitalize on those injuries. But yeah, I think Bears beat the Vikings tomorrow. I think that's how that goes down. Damn it. Sorry, I wanted to look at the rest of the. Where did the schedule go? I don't know what is the issue with my iPad today. It's too old. That's the issue. It's old, and Apple is good about if you have old Apple products, they slow them down. Let's see. All right, so week 6, we had the Broncos and the Chiefs. Obviously, you know the outcome of that game, Chiefs over the Broncos. The Kansas City Taylor Swifts over the fighting Russell Wilsons, 19-8. Panthers and Dolphins tomorrow. This game should be interesting. Panthers and Dolphins at 1 o'clock. Commanders and Falcons. Bengals and Seahawks. 49ers and the Browns. At the Browns. Lions at the Bucks. That's a game I'm interested in watching. Eagles at the Jets. I think the Jets, don't at me, I think Jets find a way to win this game tomorrow. I do. I just have I'm calling it now. I think the Jets beat the Eagles tomorrow. Cowboys at Chargers. Ravens at Titans is the early game overseas in the morning. Hopefully the Ravens can get it done against the Titans as they're licking their wounds coming off of a big loss against Colts last week. Saints at Texans. Colts at Jags. Vikings at Bears. Patriots at Raiders. Man, well, that Patriots team. And the fact that they are talking about firing or getting rid of Bill Belichick, I think is insane. I think they end up parting ways with Bill Belichick. He ends up going on to coach a warm weather team somewhere. Maybe the Tampa Bay Bucks. Does he follow Tom Brady's footsteps? Or does he just wrap it up? But give Bill Belichick a break. Like, come on. Really? That dude, you gave that franchise more than, any coach you've ever had combined. You should be able to have plenty losing seasons and get away with it if need be. Like, I get it. But come on now. Cardinals at Rams tomorrow. Another late game. And Giants at Bills is the Sunday night game. I think that is going to be, primetime game in Buffalo. In fantasy, not starting Darren Waller because I think the Bills are just going to tear the Giants apart. The Giants are injured from their quarterback on down. I think that's going to be a massacre. I think that's going to be a Halloween massacre tomorrow. It's going to be nasty. So that is it. Yeah, Blake Freeland may get the start at right tackle tomorrow, so we shall see. You all, I'm going to wrap it up. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for coming over, hanging out. I don't know who the two are that left on here, but this was fun, even though that was, not a lot of people here. That's all right. Still got to do our thing and talk lifelong football. So make sure if you have the two that are here, can you hit that like button if you enjoyed it at all? I would greatly appreciate it. I need to do everything I can to continue boosting my YouTube numbers to get to a place here on YouTube where just to scratch the surface. Like I'm new to this all the way around when it comes to YouTube, but even when I go back to TikTok, I'm still going to continue using and streaming on YouTube because it's just a necessity. It's a different it's a different group. It's a different fan base. It's all the way around. So if you would hit that like button, I would greatly appreciate it. And if you haven't yet, make sure you hit that follow button, subscribe to Officer Craig on YouTube. So, guys, I appreciate it. I will be back. I will come back tomorrow during the Colts game, at least by the third quarter. So I appreciate you. Come back and see me tomorrow. Do better, be better. We'll see you tomorrow.